Forget about the movie and my critiques and my notes and what they should have done and all that stuff. The story at the end of the day is the only reason people are gonna go and watch this movie, because it's true, because it's something that is honestly just unbelievable. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. As always, my name is Isaac Joel, and you are listening to The Critics. We are back, and it has been a very long time since you have seen me, since you have heard from me. I'm sure a lot of you probably thought, oh, he's not doing movie reviews anymore. That could not be further from the situation. I have been dying to return back to this platform that I have built for myself to discuss my favorite movies and my movie-going experience with you all. This is something that I really enjoy doing. We're going to dive into our first review back on this channel, Last Breath. First things first, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to come and check out a special screening of this movie. I received this awesome little water bottle for Last Breath, and I love this. I love the imagery for it. I really do love the color for it. It reminds me of The Abyss. That is a movie that I kind of just discovered. Don't shoot me. I just discovered that like last year, watched it like by myself, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought James Cameron really knocked that movie out of the park. I feel like that's the pinnacle of James Cameron movies. And so when it came to Last Breath visually, I felt like they wanted to take some inspirations from that specific movie, and they really nailed it. They did. I want to dive into Last Breath. What worked for me, what didn't. The movie is distributed by Focus Features. They are a very small company, in my opinion. The last movie that I think I saw from them was It Ends With Us with Blake Lively, and like now we know what's going on there with all that drama, the court case. I keep up with that every day. Focus Features is not really a studio I take that seriously. I feel like their movies are heightened Hallmark Channel, Lifetime Movie Network movie-esque, and so they don't really have an edge to it. It doesn't feel like they're really going to serious, dramatic, dark places, because it has to be light. It has to be something that kind of family members can come and watch. Last Breath is directed by Alex Parkinson. He directed the original documentary based on the extraordinary true events. And I have to be honest, I knew nothing about this story going into it. I was very tempted to watch the documentary before watching the film. And I'm also kind of appreciative that I didn't do that I didn't watch the documentary first, because watching the movie in theaters with no information as to what was going to happen, the events unfolding before me, I had no idea what was going to happen. I was honestly, genuinely shocked every 5 minutes. I was probably the only person in the audience that was like, oh my God, what? Like literally like talking out loud audibly as the most dramatic, impactful moments unfolded right in front of me. I couldn't help and believe what was happening. And the story is very powerful. It is very inspiring. I believe that so. But I do think that this is not a perfect film. I do think it has its flaws, its issues. It is in essence a Focus Features film. So it's very short. It's an hour and a half. It's not expanding on the characters. It's not exploring their backstory and what kind of makes them so interesting and why we should care and connect for them when they're in these dangerous situations. The movie just happens automatically. I felt like the script on this film could have been worked on more. It felt like they kind of just wrote it in a couple of days and was like, you know what, that's it. That's all we need to do. That's all we need to show. They were more focused and curious, I think, on the action side of the story as opposed to the emotional aspects of the story. When this film gets emotional, believe me, I was definitely crying, holding on to my legs like, oh my goodness, I can't I can't fathom what these people are going through and what could happen if they don't make it out alive. And so it's really nobody's fault. It's honestly just bad luck that one of the crew members in this deep dive mission that they're doing, it's kind of up to him to have to climb this tower in order to get to the top, in order to be found. Because if he doesn't do that, then he's going to drift away from the ocean, from the current, and never be found ever again. And so it's a story that's really unfolding time right in front of you. He's running low on oxygen, and the movie just starts and he's automatically like on 5 minutes of oxygen. You're like, oh my God, he's literally not going to make it. And it gets to the point where he runs out of oxygen and he's kind of left defenseless. And they know, they're keeping track of time back up there and what's going on. And they know, like, okay, it's 10 minutes after, it's 20 minutes after, now it's 25 minutes after. It gets really, really close to him just, it's going to be a body recovery mission to a certain point. The cast is honestly compelling. You have Finn Cole, you have Simu Liu, and Woody Harrelson. For whatever reason, Woody Harrelson gets top billing in this movie, and I think that's just insane, man. He's a really good supporting character. He's not the lead at all. I didn't really care for the trailer. I didn't really care for the marketing of this film. Like I said, it kind of just feels like a Lifetime expanded movie, like straight to TV type vibes. There's even moments during the dialogue, during the editing, where I was like, this movie feels unfinished. It feels like right now I'm watching like a rough cut, like a first draft of it, and that it needs maybe another second pass. But it's not. This is the final product of the movie. It's very short. It's very condensed. It's very straight to the point. And I love and respect it for that. But I also would have loved if the director had expanded more on the characters, on the situation. I think there could have been a lot more for the audience to kind of connect to this story. And it just happens very, very quickly. And I think for some audience members that kind of just want to be in and out of the theater, they're going to appreciate this quick and easygoing movie experience. But for someone like me who desires a little bit more character development, that wants to know and understand these real people, they're no longer just characters in a fictitious story, they're real, they're in real life. Towards the end of the film, when the credits are rolling, I was walking out of the theater and I had to come back because they started playing found footage of the people in real life from their wedding, and it was cracking me up. I left the theater crying and I came back laughing because they knew, the people, everyone that was part of this, they knew how serious it was. But when they went back to the real world afterwards, they were like just laughing it off. They just wanted to, they didn't let this situation define them. And that to me was inspiring. Forget about the movie and my critiques and my notes and what they should have done and all that stuff. The story at the end of the day is the only reason people are going to go and watch this movie, because it's true, because it's something that is honestly just unbelievable. The fact that the diver, Chris, went 30 minutes, 29 minutes to be exact, without oxygen, the brain going without oxygen for 29 minutes, he should have been dead. He should have suffered from some type of mental disability, man, but he didn't. He went back home 2 days later like nothing even happened. Oh my God, this is where the waterworks just came from right now. I came home last night after watching the film and I was just having such a hard time describing it, talking about it. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how I'm going to review this movie without crying about it, because I'm really not trying to do that on this podcast with you guys. I just think for me, I'm an emotional guy. I really am. I can easily connect to characters, to a story very, very easily if it's compelling, if it's strong enough. And so for me, watching this movie, I really, really loved it. But I do feel like they could have expanded way further and deeper into it. No pun intended. I did love the visual aspects of it. I did love the sound design. There were parts, and I did say that earlier, there were parts where it was like, this sounds unfinished. This sounds like it shouldn't be there. It sounds like, the dialogue isn't entirely cleaned up yet. It kind of felt like I was watching a documentary when it should have felt a little bit more like a movie going experience. I feel like the director has a strong documentary background, and he was bringing that to the movie going experience, and I don't think the two clashed very well. I don't want to feel like I'm watching information overload, like you got all this stuff on Wikipedia and online and different articles. I don't want to feel like I'm watching that movie. I want to feel like I'm watching something that is rooted into real life people. And I think if they had just maybe expanded on the wife a little bit more, the girlfriend, that character, and kind of let them explore that further, and even the friendships outside of that, it would have made sense to me. It had its corny moments, where people are like, hey, my brother, be safe down there, and you're like, oh, well, definitely something's gonna happen. The dialogue for me just didn't feel real. It didn't feel like anything these people would say in their real life. And so I felt like the script could have been a little bit more polished. I felt like the editing could have been a little bit more polished. But the things that did work for me were some moments through the sound design, especially when you're underwater. The underwater moments and sequences where Chris, he's all alone and he's climbing up and he's by himself, and they have the drone and they're trying to locate him and find him and rescue him. All of that worked for me, had me at the edge of my seat, literally holding my breath like, oh my God, I did not believe this guy was going to make it out alive. Even when the time and the clock went past, I was like, okay, well, why is the movie still going at this moment? What is going to happen at the very end? And I think people are going to be shocked. Those that don't know this story, I think people are going to be very, very moved by it. But I don't think it's going to be in theaters long. Movies today are having a very short lifespan in theaters now. I think I saw Love Hurts literally 2 weeks ago. It was on Valentine's Day, and it's already online on digital, and you can watch it from home. I can watch it right now if I want to, and that's not right to me. The movie going experience, you have to expand on that. It has to stay there and be there for as long as possible. But for smaller movies like this, I really don't think you're going to have much time to go and check it out. But I do recommend it. I do recommend that you go and check out Last Breath in theaters. To me, it's an hour and a half. It's short, it's sweet, it's simple, and you're definitely going to be crying. You're definitely going to be frustrated, and definitely you're going to feel something for these people that are in this situation. I just feel like with these true story movies, they need to get better at writing them. They need to get better at executing them, and not just be so fixated on the action and the excitement of it, because it just feels like you're more focused on the fact that he was stranded and everything like that, as opposed to what is going on with them emotionally. There was a specific moment where Chris kind of had to climb up this water tower, and he lit this underwater flare, and it's going on for a very long time. And he puts it on the ground and he's climbing up. And this entire moment to me was the pinnacle of the movie. Like, oh, wow, this is why they wanted to make the film. I can tell because this scene, this moment right here, I was watching a little bit of the behind the scenes. I got curious as to how you film something like this underwater. It's nothing in here is green screen. They're not shooting on the volume. They're not shooting in a green, blue screen background. It's all real. And they had to create this real life kind of tank in the outside world. They're not in a sound stage either. And so they're getting real daylight from the water coming through the light. And so they had to shoot from dusk till dawn. They couldn't shoot any of the scenes during the day because the whole movie takes place at night. So working those hours, I can only imagine as an actor, could have been extremely hard, could have been extremely cold and just tiring. And so I love the effort that they put into the practicality of this movie. It's not like Gravity with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, where they're just kind of floating around in green space. I don't really like those types of movies where it's not real. And that is the only reason why, for me, this movie worked. I think if there was a lot of CGI besides like the ship stuff, there's really just like those establishing shots of like the ship out in the ocean crashing in the waves in the darkness. Even those CGI shots, because that could not possibly be a real ship. To me, those shots were gorgeous, beautiful VFX shots. I really wasn't expecting those to look. So I loved how just dark it was surrounding the boat and how the light was only coming from the boat itself. I really did like the visuals in this movie, and I didn't expect to walk away from a true story film thinking like, whoa, those visuals were actually very crispy. I want to talk a little bit about the performance. Woody Harrelson, he's a good supporting actor in this movie, but he's not the lead at all. And I think that they should have just kind of dialed that back a little bit with the marketing. I hate when they do the posters and they just like put all their faces up there like that. I feel like the poster right behind me where he's like falling into the ocean like that by himself with his like cord all the way up, that to me is the visual shot of the entire movie, and you want to hold on to that for the posters, for the marketing. I thought Simu Liu was really good. He kind of had that like cliche character role where he's like, I don't care about nothing. When we go down there, you better keep focused and nothing better happen. And kind of says all that dialogue that you expect a guy like him to say, that tough guy, stuff. Woody Harrelson is, kind of that chill dude that just, everything's cool, man. He's playing the same character that he's always played in movies. So no one here is stretching their actor capabilities. And even the guy that plays Chris, I hate to say this because it's really not funny, but all he's doing is just laying there. He's just laying there because his character passes out like immediately. And he's like laying there for at least like 29 minutes and he's waiting to be rescued, waiting for them to come and rescue him. And so he's not really doing very much acting there. Even when they recover the body, he's just laying there. But it works. It works because as the audience member, like, oh my God, he is suffering right now. I can only imagine. And you're hoping and you're praying and you're holding your breath, waiting for him to say something, waiting for him to be responsive, hoping that he's still alive. And it's for me that it worked at times and then it also didn't at other times. I do think despite the fact that the actor was just kind of laying there for most of the film, I think as little as he did was the most impactful because when he came back, when he started talking to his spouse, his girlfriend, his wife, whatever, he really was like, you knew what was going on in his mind, the things that were unspoken. And so I really loved those sentimental moments. I feel like now I need to go back and check out that documentary because I am betting you anything. The documentary is probably better than the actual film itself. I have no reason to speculate that, but I feel like maybe they were able to cover more ground with the documentary, and with this one, they kind of just wanted to make something that felt like Oscar bait, like something that could win awards, but not really. Overall, I thought Last Breath was an enjoyable experience. I didn't feel like it was a movie that was wasting my time, that was, too corny for me to not really enjoy because, truth be told, I grew up watching those Lifetime Hallmark movies with my mom. So I really do understand kind of even that point of view when it comes to audience members, why they enjoy those kind of sentimental and heartbreaking movies. And so for me, it's always a risk whenever you're doing based on true story movies because you have to represent these people as appropriately, as respectfully as possible. And so I don't know how much of research and homework they did. I don't know if the people that made the documentary, if they even really spoke to the people that lived through these experiences. I'm assuming they did, and they do know and understand all of these emotional feelings and stuff. It just felt like the script was lacking. It was just way too short, man. An hour and a half to tell a story like this? No way possible. I think at least 2 hours. At least 2 hours. Anything below an hour 50 to me is just a really short movie. And so with something like this, I think that they had plenty of material, so much material to work with that they could have explored further and deeper into the story, the history of the characters, and why this job that they have is so important and so dangerous, and showing all of the other examples that they went through before leading up to this one situation where he is stranded. I think would have given a little bit more context into the overall movie. I'm going to rate Last Breath 7 out of 10. Overall, the visual experience of this movie was absolutely breathtaking, and I do think the story is extraordinary and inspiring and encouraging, and I think that's going to be what hooks audiences to go and watch this movie. It's only an hour and a half, so you're really not going to be wasting your time watching this movie. You're going to be in and out of the theater, and I think you're really going to want to kind of go even further into the movie. I'm going to check out the documentary myself. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Last Breath. Did you feel like this movie was just a little bit too cheesy and the script just wasn't fully developed, or did you think that it was good enough and passable enough? I feel like movies like this are going to go straight to streaming in the next like 2 weeks, and I say that as someone that loves going to the movies and wanting to maintain that experience when you go and they're in theaters for like a long period of time. Now movies are kind of just like in and out of theaters unless they're big blockbuster films like, I don't know, Captain America or Oppenheimer or something like that, or Mission Impossible. Other than that, movies that are low budget are just kind of in and out. As always, thank you for watching and checking out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have so much more content coming out, guys. I have a co-host that's going to be joining me here on this platform in the next couple of days. And next week, I'm very excited because Daredevil Born Again is going to be releasing on Disney Plus. This is a show that I've been anticipating for a very long time. I've been rewatching some of the Netflix series and binge watching that and kind of catching up on it. But I just love Daredevil. He's one of my favorite characters of all time in the Marvel Universe right now, because the movies, the TV shows, not really looking too good. But Born Again just breathes fresh life that the MCU desperately needs. And so I'm going to be checking that out next week. The first 2 episodes are dropping. I'm going to watch them and then review them on here. We're going to talk about it and dive even deeper into it with you guys. As always, I have been your host, Isaac Joel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time.